Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Pop Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. We'll be joined by good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show here in just a minute on the Titan MR hotline. If you missed it last night, the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Chicago Bears 29-27 in Monday Night Football. And guess what, folks? Tonight, Gator Hoops. Game 1 against Elon in the O'Connell Center tonight. So first, let's head on down to Ocala, and we're joined by the man from Gator Bait, Buddy Martin. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. I'm a little better today. I think as days go on, we'll all be a little better. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
Well, yeah. When you don't play good football and you get somewhat embarrassed, it's tough to swallow. But the sun comes up. You got to keep moving forward. Buddy, how was your show last night?
Well, just like yours, I was talking to your producer, and we were hopping with people last night, and everybody wants to hear something. You, of course, did a fine job, and following you, I had Chris Storing, and then France Beard, and I think they wanted to hear some from the Gator perspective, and all three of you brought something last night, and I think people want answers. We don't have any, but I'm going to work on it, okay? I've got a long way to go. I like this new show. It's not new, been 4 years. Yellowstone. You've probably never seen it.
I haven't, and I've had multiple people tell me I need to watch. I didn't think I got that channel, but I found out I do.
You do. Mm-hmm.
So eventually I'm going to watch it.
You're going to love it. It's your kind of show. And you'll love it. And the characters and the lines in there and the things they say. Kevin Costner and his crew, they do a fantastic job. My wife's a huge, huge fan. In fact, I do a show with a guy up in Memphis named Rob Brown, who the other day said he sells some Yellowstone stuff, clothes and stuff. He said, I'm going to send you something from Yellowstone for being on the show every Saturday. I said, send it on down here. My wife will wear it. So it's a good show. There's one line in that show that struck me last night. I don't think I got it right. We started talking about attitude, humility, life, etc., which I'm sort of dissecting and absorbing and trying to grasp. And it's a line that what they said to a young boy yesterday. Remember one thing about this. This is a secret I'm going to give you. And the secret is you don't deserve it. And I thought about that last night. I read Damian Pierce's quote, which I thought was fantastic last night. I read it to you and you liked it too. And I think sometimes maybe you start with attitude. Attitude alone will not win for you. Attitude, really, I wrote this down. This humility is a great olive branch, isn't it? I mean, you can really, really reach people when you're humble and they know you're sincere. And I'm not going to predict this yet because it's too early, because I'm not going to say there's going to be a transformation that Dan Mullen's going to lead them back to whatever. But I can say this much. I think he took a step in that direction yesterday with his press conference, and the reviews coming in say the same thing. Now, before I launch into this is your show, not mine, but I wanted to say reality and perception. Perception is everything. Reality is what we believe in our heart. Perception is right or wrong. Dan Mullen is a jerk. Dan Mullen is not a jerk. That's what they're dealing with in terms of perception of some people. So there's that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. I just thought I'd start with that today.
Yeah, good stuff, buddy, as always. Loreno says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Heart. We have none right now. You were talking about, I've always, when I talk to young kids, I'm not a big motivational speaker, but I just remember, I don't remember who it was, but there's two things you can control, buddy. It doesn't matter if you're a football player, you run Gator Bait, no matter what you do in the world, if you got, there's two things you can control, and that's your attitude and effort. And I just felt like our effort for pretty much the entire year has been just piss poor, to be frank. I saw Damian Pierce's comments. I love that kid. He plays extremely hard anytime he's on the field, whether it's running the football, pass protection. He's on all the special teams. He's a guy that would be so damn tired after a football game if I coached him, because I wouldn't bring him off the field. I'd make him play every down because of the effort he gives, and he's a good football player. So I don't know. I just I hope after Coach Mullen kind of season's over, they go back and evaluate things. I know there's a lot of problems, but I hope he says, okay, next year we're going to play our best players the entire game unless they need a break. And I think we'll be a better football team just by doing that. That's just my thoughts if I was in charge.
That's a good point. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that, Shane. I've heard that mentioned, and you've been mentioning for 2 years that I know of, and probably before that. And a lot of people feel the same way you do there. And but I think we kind of lost our way. And I wrote down a bunch of stuff. I won't give them all to you right now, but I'm going to write about it this week. And let's be honest. This was a total collapse. I mean, things don't happen like this unless there's really unusual circumstances, or somebody's undermining you, or you just weren't prepared for it, or your infrastructure wasn't built for it when the building collapses. And I think you have to look at it. I told you yesterday that this whole philosophy about, we argued glass half full, glass half empty, Dan Mullen's great, so on and so forth. And we talked about it for the last 4 years. Gee, this is great. Mullen's got us to, 29-6 on the way to being one of the great coaches. And all of a sudden, boom, 11 games later, he's 4-7 in those games, and he's dropped off the face of the earth in terms of the great coach, so-called tag. So I mean, something has to happen. Well, the glass, turns out, wasn't even a glass. The glass was a Solo cup. We won't call it red because that's somebody else's colors, but let's say blue. I have blue Solo cups. The Solo cup, and it wasn't half full and it wasn't half empty because it was always leaking. Somewhere on the side, there was a crack in that Solo cup, and it just leaked dry, and all of a sudden they said, oh, my goodness, we're out. We're at the bottom. Where did it go? What was the disconnect? I don't know. You don't know. Dan Mullen doesn't know. But there was a terrible disconnect. And we can talk about it all day. I have some theories. You have some theories. But there was a total collapse and a total disconnect.
Rick says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, if you don't put out 100% effort on every play, there's a walk-on waiting to replace you. That's true, but the walk-ons don't get opportunities here anymore. We had a bunch of people on here talk about they thought Dan handled his press conference yesterday. I did not see it. I know you were part of that, buddy. Yeah. Just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and by the way, it's on YouTube. You can go listen. You ought to listen to it because everybody has to decide for themselves. I don't think Dan Mullen needs to be cut slack. He needs to be accountable. And I think we saw an accountable Dan Mullen yesterday. And he said, I have a quote from him. I wrote this down on Twitter yesterday. It says as best I can say it, after trying not to be overly optimistic, which, by the way, we got a little over our skis on Mullen, I think, before he had proved it. But here's what I wrote. Dan Mullen was passionate, direct, and forthcoming in his presser about his commitment to stay at Florida and find good assistant coaches to help him fix the problems which he takes full blame for. As for finding those new top-notch coaches, quote, this is Florida, he said. Lots of people want to coach here. So there's that. And there's the admission that they've regressed. He said, one thing, looking at where we're at right now, we're not better than we were earlier in the year. And that's been his whole thing. We got to get better, got to get better, they didn't get better, got a whole lot worse. And he's mystified. And one more thing, it does concern me that he's oblivious to things around him sometimes. I mean, right there, that he can't see the elephant in the room sometimes. The fact he would say two things that really got to me. And I know, look, I'm piling on Dan right now. I don't mean to, because I want him to make it. I really do. But the fact is, he's not going to unless these things change. I think the first step was yesterday. But when you got an elephant like that in a room, you better say that's an elephant. And he doesn't do that well. And like, how could he say, I didn't know the band was there?
Right.
How could you say that?
I walked right through I had to walk because we get off the bus just like everybody else, and I walked right by the band and Coach Mullen when we walked into the stadium. So I don't know how he said that. I got a Facebook Live here real quick. Charles says, what did Florida expect? You get all these transfers who quit on their original team. Most of them, not all, had no other reason to transfer than they couldn't win their positions. Then they join our program, and kids that are brought in get benched. No, that's not the way it works.
I don't think so.
We've had tremendous transfers be really good players for us. Sometimes you just need a change of scenery. And I would not be surprised if we see a lot of our guys transfer somewhere else or try to.
Some of the coaches will take the guys that they coach, no doubt about it.
Yeah, because you're trying to make your team better. That's what it is. And we do need better players as well. Brandon says he doesn't think the players quit. Maybe they just aren't that good. I don't know if they quit. I don't like the effort. We are not a talented football team. I will go to my grave saying that. John says, do you think Coach Mullen enabled an attitude of quitting in the Cotton Bowl in this past Saturday? The same thing happened. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I just know what my eyes tell me. We don't play with great effort, and I don't think we're talented, and that talented, I should say. And the reason I say that is because I know coaching changes have to be made. I get it. And hopefully who they bring in here can coach better and recruit better. But sometimes you are what you are. And I don't think there's going to be a big difference in the next three games, buddy. I really don't. Because it's not like Christian Robinson's going to call a different defense. He's going to call the same exact defense. So, we'll see.
Well, that means it goes back to the attitude that you talked about and what you control. And let's be honest, defense is mostly attitude, isn't it?
It's all attitude and effort. That's all it is. It's like, don't let that guy block me.
Yeah.
Instead, that guy puts me on roller skates and I end up on my back. That's where I have a problem. And that has nothing to do with scheme, people. That's what I'm trying to tell people. But, we'll see. But I think it goes back to the entire roster. As I said, buddy, I don't think we're a fast football team. I think our overall team speed is not great. It's not SEC level, top-notch level. I think it goes back to you haven't had stability or consistency at the quarterback position. You cannot win in college football without consistent quarterback play. Right. Nothing against Emory or Anthony, but you've got to be consistent. I don't need the wow plays. I need somebody that's going to throw 65, 70% completion percentage where the team believes in those guys and we can scare a team throwing the football. Nobody's afraid of us throwing the football right now. Nobody.
Well, Shane, let me ask you this. How did they play so well when Trask was here?
Because Trask –
did they just catch lightning in a bottle with these guys they had? And did we underestimate the value of Tony and him? And
Kyle Pitts is catching multiple balls on Sunday afternoons, right? He's the Atlanta Falcons.
I get it.
He's not even a tight end. They line him up at wide receiver on every play. Tony was a special player, as you mentioned. You saw that years ago. And Trask was a guy that could throw the football. We don't need a guy that can run the quarterback power and run. I mean, if you want to run the quarterback, which they did with Trask, maybe 2 or 3 times a game, that's fine. But look at the teams around the country that are in the hunt in the top 10 and tell me if any of those are quarterback run-based offenses.
Yeah.
There aren't any.
Well, I mean, there's that. And we could go into a litany of reasons why. And we can talk about recruiting, which I'm doing a little investigating.
Well, that's what you got your homework project.
Well, I've got a couple of people helping me. I'm talking to high school coaches. I'm going to try to find out. I don't know much about it, but I'm going to try to, in the next few weeks, I'm going to try to learn more about it. In fact, there's this new service called On3, ON3, which is the guy who's the founder of 247 Sports, Shannon Terry, I believe. And my friend Ivan Mazel is one of their top guys and one of their owners. And Ivan is a really good wordsmith and a writer. He's never been in the mechanics of the game. And he is an investor, and he's going to be on my show tomorrow night because there's something about recruiting going on that I don't comprehend. Of course, most anything that I wouldn't comprehend, but who does know is the guys, the coaches who coach, and you know this because you coach, who's coming around, who's not. When's the last time you saw so-and-so? How does Saban do it in Kirby? How do Florida's recruiters do it? Who do you want to see coming to see you? Who's the best young recruiter who's come to your campus? We got to find out somewhere. And I don't cover high school football anymore, but I know people who do. So I'm going to do my best to learn something about it. And if I do, I'll let you know. Let me point out one other thing if I can. The reason this hurts so bad, and I can hear it in your voice when you're doing the game and Mick's and everybody else's, is that remember this. Tony, Trask, Pitts, and what they did up to the LSU game last year was a wonderful distraction from the horrible time we're having in our country right now with COVID. And it started on March 13th. I remember the day when it all started of 2019 and carried us through 2019 and 2020 up to the first 9 or 10 games. And then the bottom dropped out. When it dropped out, it's like, okay, what just happened? I mean, we have a very good piece on Gator Bait right now, written by Carlton Reese, one of our newer columnists. And he's right. Maybe Alabama last year and Alabama this year was fool's gold because there's no way the Florida Gators can play with Alabama, yet they did on 2 occasions. Therefore, we think, well, hey, listen, that's the standard. Let's go win us an SEC. Didn't work out that way. So those are 2 points I think we should point out. And we kind of lost our way along this thing and to have false values, to thinking they were better than they were. And so now paying the price. Humility is a good place to start.
Yeah, no question. We got a text on the Titan Mark text line from Jeremy. He says, do these firings just delay the inevitable, or is it the step in the right direction? What do you think, buddy?
You got to make a decision. In my opinion, I don't think Mullen should have been fired. He's been publicly humiliated. The question is, can he turn it around in time? And I'm not sure he can. Not necessarily just because of him, because how do you go out and hire a really great defensive coordinator when he thinks he might have only 1 season? Ask Coach Spurrier. He had a problem with that in South Carolina his last couple of years. And I don't know how you do that unless you give them a secure contract of 2 or 3 years and $2 million and whatever, and say, we're going to build our house around this guy and we're going to go recruit the hell out of the best players. I don't know why they don't get 4 and 5 stars. I asked a well-known high school coach about that, and he said, one of the problems, and you said this before, is the 4 and 5 stars come with too much baggage. And I said, well, how does Saban do it then? He gets them. And he sent a little emoji of a guy with his hands over his eyes, looking the other way. So there's something going on we don't understand here. You coach high school football, Shane. You could address those questions.
Well, I think, kids think they're entitled to things these days. But, the thing that when you watch Georgia, or let's just use Georgia and Alabama, they're the cream of the crop, and we don't get to see enough of A&M. They got a ton of 5 stars too. But they play hard, buddy, because they know if they don't do what they're supposed to, mistakes are going to be made. But if you don't play hard and you do silly things, they're going to put you on the bench in a heartbeat, right? I don't think anybody on our team is worried about going to the bench because we really don't put people on the bench. And whether that's the coaches don't think the next guy can step in, you never know. But I would rather have somebody go 100 miles an hour, playing hard, giving me effort, than a guy that's going to play a play, then take 5 plays off and loaf. But the recruiting is the lifeblood of a football program. And I think everybody in America or any Gator fan knows that we have got to recruit better. I don't know what the answers are. You don't know what the answers are.
No.
I mean, the only answer I have is the top players in America are going to end up at Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, maybe Clemson, Oklahoma. Why? Because wait till the show comes on TV tonight. Those teams are going to be listed in the potential 14 playoff. Kids want to go play where they can win. For the people, I've got friends. Well, I don't understand. Not everybody makes it to the National Football League. We're a top 5 public institution in America. They can get a degree. I hear where you're coming from. They don't give a damn about that, folks. They want everybody that goes and plays college football thinks they're going to play on Sundays for a long time. It doesn't happen. If you're lucky enough to do it, that's great. But the academic portion to the average person sounds like it's a big deal, but it's not to the athlete. That's just the honest to God truth.
I still don't understand what happened. I don't understand the recruiting thing because there's some basic things, and you and I talked about this. Does budget make a difference? I mean, there's that disparity brought up about Florida has a team playing, Georgia doesn't. They spend 3, Florida spends 1.2 or 3 or 4, whatever it is. I don't know. But the one thing I'm not hearing about is who is doing all this. Who are the people in the program? Now, I heard yesterday that Keion Ratliff, I don't know this, is one of the people stepping up to help recruit. Keion Ratliff is a terrific emissary for this program, a great player, and I would think would be a good recruiter. But I'm asking high school coaches, who's the last impressive Gator coach that came in to see you? And the ones I've talked to so far said nobody's come because of COVID. So I don't know about that. That could be an issue. Yesterday, I was on a program, like I told you, with Aaron Murray, the former Georgia quarterback, and Jacob Hester, the running back for LSU on Sirius. And I asked Aaron Murray, well, who's a really good recruiting defensive coach that would be a prospect from Florida? And he said, Christian Robinson. Well, he's going to get his chance. And I asked him why Christian Robinson. He said, well, he was my roommate in college. He said he's really smart. We all knew he'd be a coach. He's highly respected. He's a really good recruiter. I don't know this. I said, well, it's news to me, so now I know. Now, is Christian Robinson going to be the guy? Probably not. He'd have to really pitch a shutout 3 games to get that opportunity. So I think the next question is identifying that person.
Well, there's no question about that. We got some Facebook Lives here. Patrick says, brought to you by Meldon Law, a coach is only good as his horses, but a great coach can inspire his average players to be better with effort. I can't agree more with that statement. Turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot this November. Mention promo code Shane. Receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. A few more minutes here, buddy. If you got any questions or comments for us, shoot them to us on the text line or on Facebook Live. Scott says, at Florida, we need players who want to be here. At Florida, good players that give the maximum effort both on the field and off the field, and we need good players. The Florida Standard, as Coach Mo says, I think should be shooting for at least 10 wins. That's a long text. I can't read all that one.
Let me just say something. I love the fans. They're great. I get where they're coming from. But you know what? This ain't Christmas. I want a new Mercedes for Christmas, but I'm not going to get one. Just because you want it, not going to make it happen. So there's a lot of reality checks that need to be made here about the Gator fans are going to have to go through this. They're going to have to go through it, and there's no quick fixes to it. Okay.
Hang on, buddy. I gotta read this one real quick because they go away. This is a good one. Joseph says, it aggravates the heck out of me when people start blaming the players. Who is responsible for bringing all these guys? This is Dan Mullen's fault. I realize y'all have to be politically correct, so Dan will eat with y'all at Spurrier's. That ain't happening, Joseph. But this is all entirely his fault. Stop blaming these kids. If you touch a hot stove and get burned, how many more times are you going to keep touching the hot stove? The players are tired of touching hot. Look, I agree
there's
with what you're saying, Joseph.
There's some great wisdom right there, isn't there? Wow.
Yeah. But my point is, my eyes, I've been around football a lot. I can tell you our players are not as good as some of the teams we're playing. That's all I'm saying. And it's not the players' fault for being a Gator. That's what our coaches brought in here. But I'm just telling you that it's not great talent. Cliff asked, do you think we might have a chance to get Marquand Manuel as a DC? I don't know. He's never recruited.
He's never
Everybody wants
coached
a
in college
recruiter.
that I know of. He did a hell of a job for the Seahawks, and
Yeah,
he's
he's
highly
always been
regarded
in
guy.
the
But
NFL.
it doesn't translate. I mean, this is a different game. Like you said, he's never recruited. You can't just throw a name out there and have him walk into high school and say, "Hey, look here, I'm from the Seattle Seahawks." It doesn't translate. It just doesn't.
No, it's the whole recruiting thing that's the reason why I didn't go coach with Kerwin at Western Carolina, buddy.
Really?
Because I'm 51 years old. Do I really want to go recruit 17 to 20-year-olds to try to come play for us? No, I want to call plays and coach and all that, but I didn't want to recruit because I had no experience. You have to have experience doing it. So, it's a tough deal. There's no question about it. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Connects for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule a free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Give QC Kinetics a call, 352-400-4550. So I think, and then, everybody wants T-Rob, Travaris Robinson, who was here at one time under Will Muschamp. I think he's at South Carolina. I don't know where he's coaching now. So,
I think it's so, but I don't know.
It's a strange deal because as us Gator fans think it should be easy to get kids to come to the University of Florida. Right, buddy? Don't you think that's the general?
Yeah, and they're living in a dream. It's just not like people are jumping off back of trucks and come to run to Florida. There's some good players, 2 and 3 and 4 through 2 and 3 stars. And look, let's go back to Coach Spurrier. What was his successful formula? He took a nobody team and Duke him on the ACC. So he proved he could do that. But he came to Florida.
How did he do it, buddy? How did he do it?
Well, he built a team and he communicated with his players. He taught them how to compete. They said the big thing for him was setting goals. That was his big thing. Got the team to set goals. He talks about it in his book, which I think you see in the back of my over here somewhere, about how the team meeting went at Duke when they started making team goals. And one of the offensive linemen said, "We could win the ACC, coach." They never have. I mean, since then. But and Steve said, "Well, let's don't be unrealistic here. Let's say coach, we think we can win it." And he said, "Okay, put it up there." Well, guess what? They were co-champions that year. So you have to have the goals. But it's more than wishful thinking, and he knows how to coach. And he got the opportunity. And he points this out when he got to Florida, and you were on that team. He said they were loaded with good players. And he had good players. And you know what happened because you led that team to the new era of Florida football.
Well, what I was trying to get at was, and I agree with everything you just said, he did it throwing the ball.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Throwing the football.
Well, but now, in fairness, Shane, people weren't doing that then, okay?
Right. But I'm telling you now, that's it. I mean, you watch college football now, it's a high percentage kid that knows how to throw the football. And Eddie says HBC recruited the talent for his system. Yes. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's different philosophies. Everybody has different philosophies. Back in the day, Barry Switzer and those guys ran the wishbone very well at Oklahoma. But I just think, we need a lot of upgrades everywhere. But I think we need to start recruiting the Kyle Trask guys, the guys that can throw high percentage completions.
So you want to drop back quarterback? You want a guy who's
absolutely? I do.
Okay, all right.
I mean, did you have fun watching Gator football the last year and a half?
No, it's great. It was fun. Okay. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I think there's an element out there. People said, I'm tired of getting quarterbacks hurt, by running the football. They're not all Tim Tebow, and that does happen to your quarterbacks, and these big physical defensive players now can crunch your bones in a heartbeat. How would you like to run the ball against a guy who weighs 306.5?
I wouldn't.
I'd
check out of it. I'd check out of it and throw the ball, buddy.
I remember the first time I saw Dan Mullen do this. It was a scrimmage, and Cam Newton was at Florida. And they were lined up in goal line, and Cam Newton took a shotgun snap, and he ripped it in there and just took a shot. And Mullen was coaching him up. Get up, go back, do it again. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, is this what I came to Florida for, to take this kind of abuse? I mean, shoot. So I'm thinking, I don't know about that philosophy, but it's worked for him so far. And maybe he may have to adapt, and he can. He had Chris Leak. Let's don't forget that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He adapted extremely well the last year and a half when he had a guy that couldn't run a lick.
Right.
But it was damn good, damn fun watching, and we won a lot of football games.
Yeah. Is AR-15 the guy? Is he going to be the guy who can do that? Because he can.
I don't think so. I don't think he's a good enough thrower.
Really?
Now, if you want somebody that can make a couple of great runs here and there, yeah. But I don't think. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I've seen him play a lot of football.
You saw him in high school.
I've seen him play a lot of football, and he was hurt in high school too a lot. So things can change, but I think we need to get a lot faster on both sides of the ball. We need to get more speed as well.
Let me bring up one more thing, if I can, just a small point. Dan Mullen coaches best with a chip on his shoulder. That's how he coached when he's in Florida as offensive coordinator, how he was in Mississippi State, and how he's tried to be at Florida. But that can become, if you're not careful, false bravado. You can't, I'll beat you in thumb wrestling, all that stuff. Sounds good. Fans love it here. He's competitive. And I wonder if that's going to come back to bite him in the butt, the false bravado. I don't know. I like the new Dan Mullen somewhat. And the last thing I'm going to say is, this is just a theory. I don't know if it's accurate or not. And that is this. The whole aspect of playing an all SEC schedule brings something into play that I've talked about with Urban a lot, called residual impact. Made that term up myself. And it's like a fighter, a boxer, who keeps fighting heavyweight champions every week. After a while, you get the crap beat out of you, and you get a little bit weary, and you got no game left. And I wonder, I don't know this, if that's part of what happened to Mullen and his style of offense, is that they went up against SEC teams, and they tried to physically overwhelm them sometimes, and they wound up with bottom falling out last year. They lost 3 in a row. Now they're 4-7. I don't know. I just remember that term, residual impact. You can't fight champions every week.
All right, real quick, buddy, before I let you go, 2 things I want to touch on. We lost Gator great basketball player Ronnie Williams, passed away.
Well,
did you cover the Gators?
I was not. No, I was not here then. Fansbury talked about it last night. He was a great all-time great scorer, and I've seen video of him. I know his game was really, it was a terrible. I guess he had cancer for a couple of years, and I'm sure we'll hear from Franz, who writes some terrific stuff on basketball. He starts tonight, by the way, with some of his basketball stuff. As good a basketball writer as there is in the country, Franz Berry, that's where he makes his living in basketball. So, yeah, I think some Gator fans are ready to say, hey, we're a basketball school.
I want to read this Facebook Live here before we let you go, buddy. It's from Natasha. She says, when I worked with Miss Betty, she's referring to Betty Lean 25 plus years ago, recruiting was a focus for all coaches. Franks, Zook may have been the coordinators, the recruiting coordinators, but Double D, Jimmy Ray, John Reeves were all recruiting, and SOS was too. I know the rules have changed, but it seems like recruiting has been put on the back burner, which is biting us on the backside.
Interesting. I think I'll call Ron Zook and ask him how he did it. I know how he did it.
Well, he's at Maryland. He may not give you any scoop because he's still coaching.
He's a Marion County guy. He lives here in Lake Weir, so
yeah. But he's still coaching with Maryland, right? Any of their
as far as I know, he's still coaching in Maryland.
Yeah. All right. Last thing before we let you go. Urban gets his big win over the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. Have you talked to Urban?
Texted him last night. He texted me back. He was thrilled. A couple of great pictures. He got a smile as wide as the state of Florida on his face. His relief is. And I didn't get a chance to see what the last 2 minutes of that game because it wasn't on there. And I heard Frank Frangi's call on the radio. It was good. I texted Frank, well, you brought that game to life. There's something about football on the radio that's really still good. But that was a huge win. As Coach Perry said, he's already doubled the number of wins from last year. So, yeah, it was a relief for him. And we'll see. Can he win those 4 or 5 games? I'm not sure. we'll probably have somebody on Friday on our show talking about the Jags. We usually do, and we'll keep up with them. So, meanwhile, we got good pro football in Tampa, so it's a good it's a good year for the pros.
Yeah. NFL's crazy. Anything can happen. This past Sunday was crazy. All right, buddy. Before we let you go, who you got on the show tonight?
Well, we have a little media roundtable. A new columnist that you're going to like if you haven't read him. You need to. Carlton Reese wrote the column today about Fool's Gold. He'll be on with us. Cassie Hill's gone, as you know, the Green, and we'll have. We're probably going to have Graham Hall on talking about. He knows a little about the recruiting stuff as well. And Ainsley Lee will join us on the program tonight. So it'll be a bit of a roundtable discussion, more about the same stuff in Gainesville.
Good stuff as always, buddy. Get to work on your homework assignment now. You got to figure out how we can recruit better.
I've already got my texts out to coaches this morning, and I've got a couple back. So I'm hoping I'm going to take my time on it because I got to do a whole ground up thing. I got to learn more about it. So why are they not getting even the 4 and 5 stars out of Ocala Gainesville? I don't know.
I don't know if we've had any 5 stars in the Gainesville area. I know Ocala's had a few. A couple have gone to LSU.
Right, Vanguard.
Yeah, Vanguard's got a few, but sometimes Vanguard's guys haven't academically been cleared, I believe.
Well, there's a lot of problems. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's not that simple. I see a 5-star go get him. There's other issues, and you said several times, sometimes they don't want those guys.
Right. Yeah. So, all right, good stuff as always, buddy. We appreciate you joining the program.
Thank you, Shane.
That's Buddy Martin. You can check him out every Monday through Friday on Facebook Live at the Buddy Martin Show. We're going to take our first time out, come back. We'll try to catch up on some of your comments here on Facebook Live and your texts as well. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They're getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmitt. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Prime and Pearl, Regal Cinemas, Medici, Dave & Buster's, Skechers, and the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Make your reservations today at spurriers.com. Make sure you check out Visors as well, open Thursdays through Saturdays. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We got a bunch of Facebook Lives here. Let's see here. We got a bunch of things that were posted here that now just deleted. Some YouTube Buddy Martins. I don't know why those popped up. People were talking about recruiting. Obviously, that's the biggest thing right now. Scott says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, when is the football facility supposed to be done? I think they move in like April or May, possibly. Not 100%. That will help a little bit, but I mean, it's something that we needed. We don't have. I mean, we're like one of the only schools in America that have not had a football standalone facility. And I've been banging the drum for that for a long time. I think it will help, but it's not going to convince a kid to come here. You got to win. That's what they want to do now. Coy says, or no, Natasha was telling Coy he was out nonstop and he knew everything about every kid. I think she's referring to Ron Zook, who was a relentless recruiter, and he did bring a lot of really, really good football players to this program. There is no question about that. I think we just got a text on the Titan and Martin text line, and it comes from Joe. Joe says, Shane, if you were on this staff, which quarterbacks would you go out and recruit? Joe, honestly, I don't follow recruiting. I don't follow any of the services. I don't even know who the top quarterbacks in America are. Caleb Williams, who is now the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, was the number 1 rated quarterback coming out of like New Jersey or Virginia. I can't remember where he's from. But Lincoln Riley usually can handpick what quarterbacks he wants when it's time to recruit. So I honestly, Joe, I'm sorry. I don't know the answer to that. I think we have a kid named Nick Evers who is committed to us out of the state of Texas. I don't know a thing about him. I'm sure he's a dual threat guy would be my guess. John asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, any chance the Zucker to come back to Gainesville? He's coaching for the Maryland Terrapins right now. I do know he still has a house down at Lake Weir. And Scott says, I like Charlie Strong to come back. I don't think there's any – I think I got a better chance of coaching for the Gators than Charlie Strong coming back. Charlie is coaching in the National Football League. He does not have to recruit. So why would you want to do that? That's just one more stress in your life that you don't want to deal with. And also he has a show cause from his days at USF. So I don't know what all that entails if he were to get back into coaching. Coy says he came to Vanguard. He would talk to me about water skiing every time. I guess he was there because Dante Culpepper was our QB. We're talking about Zook. And somebody mentioned a few minutes ago about the 4-star receiver that initially was committed to Florida, ended up at Jackson State playing for Dion. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but it was an academic issue why he ended up at Jackson State. Very good player, though. Very, very good. I coached against him in high school. Heck of a player. Vanguard's got some dudes down there. There's no question about it. I think they had a big defensive lineman, a defensive end a couple of years ago that was supposed to come to Florida, ended up going to LSU, and I don't know if he's played much for them or not. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We were, normally on Tuesdays we have Trent, but we're trying to follow the rules. They don't want athletes talking much right now, but we'll get Trent back on. Trent's still battling his ankle injury, and hopefully he'll be able to suit up this week against Sanford. William says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. No coach is worth his salt wants to beg a 16 or 17-year-old to come play. That's true. That is true. Scott says he wants to go back to the 4-3 defense. Joseph says there were reports Strong wanted to come back last year, but wanted to come back as DC, and Dan didn't want to let go of Todd at that time. I don't think that's a big of a long shot on getting Strong. Well, there was some talk about Charlie being an analyst, and the way they do the analyst jobs here, because Kerwin was thinking about being an analyst, but he would have been working with the defense, and Charlie would have been working with the offense if he'd come back as an analyst. That's when they talk about Paul Pasqualoni, who I think is going to help on the defensive side of the ball. He helps with the offense. Now, his roles have changed now that since they let Grantham go. But the reason they like that, they want to sit in a meeting with a defensive-minded guy and say, okay, what would you do to this formation? What would you do here? And that's kind of how Dan works. But, we'll see. William says, Charlie Strong ain't coming back to college. I would agree with that 100%. I do not think there's any way he is going back to college. I think Charlie's over 60 years old, although he looks like he's 40. Why would you want to do that? Toby says Trevante Rucker, wide receiver from Vanguard, went to Jackson State. That is correct. Really, really good player. No doubt about that. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Give them a call today, folks. 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports in 1965. The great Willie Mays was named the National League Most Valuable Player. That was 1965. That's This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. All right, let's see here. Dan Quinn. Again, Dan is the defense coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. They have a chance to make a long run this year. Why would he want to go back to recruiting? That's where I think people are, once everybody was coaching the National Football League for the most part. Once you going back. Scott says, we will get a good one. I'm not worried. Coaching D at UF is a very attractive job. Just need the right fit. John says, if you could, Zook Freeman, our recruiting would improve by leaps and bounds. I don't know. Like I said, Zook was an analyst for Mike Loxley the last couple of years up in Maryland. And I know this year he made him an on-the-field coach. I can't remember if he's special teams coach. I don't know what he is. But, Zook can recruit. There's no question about it. I don't know, how he would feel coming back. You got to think about that. He was fired here as the head coach. He'd be closer to his house in Lake Weir. I do know that. And William says, no coach in the NFL is dropping back to college unless he needs a job. I agree totally with that. If you got any comments or questions, give them to us. Tomorrow, I think we have Rocky Blyer on the show. So if you have any comments or questions for Rocky Blyer, shoot them to us through the text line or on Facebook Live tomorrow for sure. Toby says, Phil Troutwine, the O-line coach for Penn State, is a very good recruiter. And obviously he's a former player here. I'm sure Dan Mullen will reach out to him. But again, I think what people got to remember, if you're a Phil Troutwine, yes, would you like to coach your alma mater? Absolutely. But is it going to be 1 year and then I'm looking for another job? I don't know what his stability is right now at Penn State. We don't know what James Franklin's going to be doing. So it's up in the air. Thanks to Rick. He says Zucker is the associate head coach defensive coordinator for Maryland. I didn't know he's the coordinator. Okay. Well, now Vince tells him he's a special teams / defensive coordinator. So they just give him a bunch of titles so they can pay him a little bit more money. Joseph on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law. If Dan is really committed to this program and I was Strickland, I would tell Dan we'll pay whatever it takes to get the best guy possible, but it's going to come out of your buyout. If Dan is committed to Florida, that's a no-brainer because the long-term payout of that would be much greater than giving up $5 million out of his own buyout. I like that idea. Jawan Sider, that Mullen didn't retain, is a great recruiter. I don't know where he's coaching these days. But that's funny that I like Joseph's thought here. Dan, we're going to take some money out of your pocket to pay a defensive coordinator to come here. And Robert says, you can't just casually drop that you're having Rocky Blyer on tomorrow. So tune in, Robert. We are going to have Rocky Blyer. I couldn't remember if it was tomorrow or Friday, but it is tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that. We're going to take our second time out of the program. Come back. We'll have some news and notes and wrap up this Tuesday edition. Of course, it's a lot to talk about right now in Gator Nation. But we do have basketball starting tonight, folks. So head on over to the O'Connell Center. I don't know if the game's on TV or not. It seems like every game is on TV these days. But you're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okito America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but they still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank Buddy Mark for joining us today on the program on the Titan MR Hotline. Vince says, what do you think about limiting the number of 4 and 5 stars a team can sign? Use the composite rankings, no more than 2 5-stars and 10 4-stars per team. That would spread the talent around and we'd get more than the same. That ain't going to happen, Vince. We just got to recruit better and somehow convince these kids to come play for us. But again, you got to win. Think about Spurrier won, Urban won. The kids want to play for teams that are winning. I mean, there's no other else to put it. Gators basketball is on the SEC Network Plus tonight against Elon. Get your first look at the team Mike White has assembled with transfers. The SEC is just full of transfers this year in basketball. We'll get Chris Harry on this week, talk a little Gator basketball. But, I know when all those kids were transferring out, the Gator Nation was freaking out. But we're like, out of the 14 SEC teams, there was like 6 or 7 teams that had more transfers than we did. So pretty bizarre, but that's the way of the world. But I'm anxious to see how many people you think are going to show up in the swamp for Sanford on Saturday. Then we head to Missouri, where it's probably going to be very cold. It's a 4 o'clock game, Eastern Standard Time, if you missed that, against the Missouri Tigers. Hope you enjoyed today's show, folks. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Rocky Blyer. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. See you tomorrow.
Trying to get the fans fired up. 2nd down and 10. Matthews rolling to his right, in trouble, can't find anyone. Now he throws it for Harrison Houston, who makes the catch. He's in the open field. Harrison to the 20. They're not going to catch him. Touchdown, Gators.